I want to move forward now, if I may, to some other allegations which have been raised to do with specific prophecies which were received by the promised Messiah. And this is one which all of us know very well. It's one which adorns many homes as well, and it manifests, certainly we believe as well, in this modern age through MTA itself. And this comes through Abdul Rauf Saab from Coventry, Jazakallah. Indeed, it was also an allegation which was raised on one of the programs on Iqra as well. And this reverts to that God told Hadhrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad that I shall cause thy message to spread to the corners of the earth. The questioner then comes back to the point, and it was a point made in the Iqra program, well, who is the messenger here? Is God doing Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's messaging? Isn't it the job of the messenger to spread the message? It seems that the tables were turned in this case. Dr. Zahir.
As far as Islam is concerned, we know that the 1400 years ago, the Holy Prophet ﷺ was sent with the last Sharia, and was sent with the beautiful teachings of Islam. And immediately around the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ and after, Islam had spread to just a very small area of the world. But it was God's design that in the latter days, لَيُزْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ, that it would be spread to all the corners of the earth and to around the globe. So this was in fact the design of Allah, that in the latter days Islam's final victory would be seen at the hands of the Mahdi that would become. What we have to understand is that when Allah sends a messenger to the earth, he brings guidance for mankind. So the message is from Allah, and the Prophet is the recipient of that message. So he is given this task of reforming people around him and spreading the message of Allah in that respect. It should also be borne in mind that the Promised Messiah, who was a non-law-bearing prophet, and he had a specific task in that respect. And like all prophets of Allah, when they receive a revelation and they understand the task that is put before them, the enormity of the task, it is of course something that is a worrying aspect of their life and a perturbing aspect of their life. And we see in the life example of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, when he received the first revelation, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, what was his state when he received that revelation? He was shivering, he was cold, he was trembling. He went back home, and Hazrat Khadija obviously had to put the mantle on his shoulders to calm him down.
He didn't actually know
what was happening to him. And when she took him to her cousin Varaka, he informed him that God has chosen you as a prophet, and the Prophet, then realizing that opposition is something that all prophets have had, that he would have to go through the same dilemma and the same persecution, and he said that will a time come when my people will also throw me out? So he was worried about it. And the same with the promised Messiah alayhi salam. And it is Allah then who gives solace to his prophets and gives help to his prophets, and promises them that he will be the one who will be their helper and their guide in spreading the message of whatever has been sent to them. So exactly this has happened, and this is the pattern that we have seen, that the source of the message is of course Allah. It's his message, and the message that has been sent down to a particular prophet becomes his message in that sense.
Of course, it would be rather odd for God to say, here's the message, or revive, as in the case of Hazrat Masih Maud Islam. There was no new message, it was the renaissance of Islam, that but I'm not going to now help you do it.
Sure.
You know, I think the implication of the question is somewhat flawed in itself as well.
So the reason for the success of that message is obviously not the efforts of the Prophet in themselves, but it is the help of Allah. So Allah is the one who then spreads the message.
Just building on that, and also in the context I mentioned in my opening of the question about our television station on which Faith Matters is being shown, there's a sort of linked question to this, that in this day and age everybody's message is spread to the corners of the earth through the media, and it's available, so it's no big deal for the Ahmadi Muslim community to claim this, but Ahmadis call it as a sign of truth of their message being spread to the corners of the earth.
Well, I mean, we have to look at everything in context as well. We're talking of a person who was alone in an unknown village, which even today, if you look at most maps of India, we'd not see it on the map. In a very small village where there was, there weren't all the means and of, the modern means of transport or that like we have now.
There were no communications.
No,
it was very limited.
He was
yes.
somebody who had poor health as well. Nothing was sure about how long he'd live. How could anyone like him say that not only my message will leave Qadian, but will spread all over the world? That was a very, very tall claim. There wasn't any internet then, certainly, to help him on his way. And I mean, now the opponents of the Jamaat Ahmadiyya can sit quietly and calmly in their homes and launch out all their scurrilous attacks against the Promised Messiah ﷺ from the comfort of their sofas or their beds, even if they wish. But of course he had to face so many difficulties. Everything was against him, and not only that, all the people were against him as well. Because he took on, in the name of Islam, he took on the Christians, he took on the Hindus, he took on the Jews, he took on everybody. And everyone was his enemy then because of that, because he was showing them the errors of their beliefs and showing them the true belief and faith in God and the true facts about religion. So how could somebody like that, and everyone has been opposing him ever since he launched his message, yet this message has spread out and is now in over 190 countries by the grace of Allah. So if that's not a sign, then I don't know what is. But it's definitely a sign of
I think
truth.
the whole concept, the other thing which underlies all of this, in its looking at the question, no other channel, if we are equating it also to the spread through MTA, also has the blessing of a prophecy behind it. And let's put this into sort of modern historical fact. The first universal Muslim channel was, of course, MTA.
Absolutely. If I just may, that is a fact. That is, you see no comparison in this. That is definitely another angle or dimension of that prophecy. It's clear, and I mean, it's the way I try to look at this, and I've looked at this. You often heard Muslims, or maybe even Christians, who have said how successful Islam has been. But if we go back to the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and we look now how far Islam has come, we can see that by that alone he's been proven that he's a true prophet of God. And if you look in the same context with the Prophet ﷺ, as Maulana Jahangir Sahib has excellently presented, if this is not a sign of his truthfulness, then you can question every other prophet on their truthfulness. But this is one of the biggest signs that this person could not have made such a claim, and then we're a living example sitting here of that claim.
I think we're literally coming to the end of the program now, but just very briefly, Jahangir Sahib,
I just want to make a general comment here, that listening to Maulana Ibrahim Sahib, that just came to my mind, that actually all these allegations which are being levelled against the Promised Messiah Hadhrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the people who are making them are themselves living in houses made of glass. Because every accusation they create against him is actually an attack on all the other prophets as well. And they don't realize that. Every single accusation and every single thing which they've said, we can show that they're also attacking the other prophets, because nothing that he did was any different from what we can find in the past.
Indeed, and that was something that he always was particular to state quite regularly, that he followed exactly the same faith, the same message, and he came mainly to revive, and his true message was the renaissance of Islam. If I could move on to the next question which has been raised, and it comes from Jamila Murtaza.